We're going to look at HTML. We did it in a quick lesson. I've got a notepad window open and I'm just going to type in that. The first thing that you should know that all web pages are just plain text. And what I mean by plain text is that they are created in an editor such as Notepad or Notepad++, or even Python idle. There's quite a few editors out there, but when they are saved, the only thing that is saved is the actual characters that are written on the screen. Now, if you're using WordPad or Word, obviously you're writing characters on the screen just the same, but when it saves it, it also saves formatting. And there is no formatting in a plain text file. So we'll take a look at that shortly. I'll have a look at a couple of files and see what's inside them. And you'll be able to see what a plain text file is. And that's all web pages are. They are plain text files. So I'm going to write a very, very basic plain text file now, just a couple of minutes long this, so that we can move on. The first thing that I want you to know is that you will probably not be tested on HTML. So all of the tags that we're going to write and all of the web pages that we're going to write, you'll probably be okay just forgetting all the tags. It is not a language. Although the L in HTML stands for language, it's not a language as we know it, because this course is really based on algorithms that's solving problems with methods which loop and repeat and test by using if and else statements. And there is none of that in plain HTML. Now, we can put a language inside a web page called JavaScript, which will contain those features, but that is called a scripting language. It is not HTML. HTML is just a bunch of tags that we're going to see. So there's quite a few little bits and pieces here that are, how can I say, they're very, very subtle. You need to know them, but you probably won't need them for your exam. What we're doing is a sort of overview of everything that you will need for your exam, although the actual coding at this point you won't. So you'll not be tested on HTML. It's not a language. As far as your exam is concerned, the theory behind it is really important. And that is why I am doing it. So for example, we're going to see two different languages. We're going to see JavaScript and we're going to see PHP. Now, either one of those could have been chosen for your project. However, as much as I can program, I really would find it very difficult to write any of the projects using JavaScript or PHP. There are some real significant problems, such as file saving, that you just can't do with them. So that's why we've avoided them. Not only that, we've avoided them because to use them you have to learn HTML, which again is not tested. We're just going to have a look at it. The major one that I really want to point out later on is this one, SQL. We'll be using databases and we'll be using SQL, and I'm going to show you how it's used in the real world in web pages. That's where you would probably come across structured query language. And rather like HTML, it's not really a language. There's no loops, there's no statements. JavaScript and PHP are, but SQL and HTML are not languages as we're expected to know them. So we're going to look at SQL, and really that is going to be part of playing around with web pages. In particular, we're going to learn about client servers because that is really important with web pages. It's really important with networks. You'll do a lot about that. You need to know a lot about that, and this is a big client server issue. What you normally play around with on your computers is called the server. It's called the client, sorry, and the programs where everything's stored is called the server. So I'm going to take you through one or two of those things as part of the revision, again using HTML to do it. We're also going to look at DBMSs. Now I will probably look at that in Microsoft Access, but I'm not going to focus too heavily again on DBMSs, just mention what they are. In your mock exam you did HTML, you did DBMSs, but that really comes from the computing qualification, which was historically the past versions of this course. We've now gone on to computer science, whereby they're less important. You still need to know about them for your exam, but you're not going to be queried about them as much as you would have done in the past. So it's going to be a skip over, and you'll learn the basics of what they do, but I can't see major questions being asked on it, but you'll still need to know what they're there for. So we've got quite a lot, and what I'm doing is I'm actually writing a few bits and pieces that you can read into a text editor, and I'm going to save this as a HTML page. HTML stands for hypertext, can't spell, hypertext markup language, and it's important to know it, it's important to know what it does, but it's not necessary to know all the tags that are in it. These files are usually saved with the .htm extension, and as you can see there, it's already come up with HTML, but more recently .html. So roughly since, I don't know, around about 2005, they started using 4 characters on the end of their pages when Windows went from Windows XP to Windows Vista. They had a better filing system than they previously had, and that's what gave us the extensions. But you need to know a lot about extensions and how they work. You'll also need to know a fair amount about other files and compression routines, which again are part of web pages and the reason for web pages. So you'll need to know about image files, JPEG, GIF, and there is one other that used to be used called a PNG. However, I'm not going to really focus too much on a PNG, and there's definitely one that I'm not going to focus on at the moment, which is a modern one, which is an SVG file, which is definitely for web pages. If you use Paint or anything else like that, you'll create something called a BMP file. You cannot display those in web pages, and we'll come to that later. So we're talking a lot about what can be done in web pages. We're also trying to look at what you'll need to know for your exam. So in the next video we'll start saving this and then actually putting some markers around it.